Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of Fearless Fridays. As you can see, we have a very different look and feel to our Fearless Fridays today. We have a panel discussion today. So, before I introduce all the wonderful folks in the panel or on the panel, I do first of all want to highlight our guest of the evening, Miss Shantay Adams. Hold on, let me get
Hello,
you.
hello, hello.
Hey, hey,
Hey,
hey.
hey, hey, hey.
We have you back again. Wonderful, wonderful to have you back. So, to kick off tonight's conversation, before we introduce this panel, I just want to remind everybody this is going to be a really nice, fun conversation this evening, right? Right,
Yes,
Shantay?
that's
All
right.
right, that's all I
That's
need to
right.
know. Yes, we're going to have us a wonderful time tonight. So, let me go ahead and introduce my panel. So, we're going to start right here with one of the greatest guys I know. We have he has a wonderful podcast on Wednesday evenings at 8 o'clock. Here we go. Why doesn't it do this? Uh-oh. Hold on, guys. I just did something and got out of my own thing. Hold on. What did I just do? Jesus. Jesus, help me. Okay, there we go. I've never seen myself do that before. Anyway, bring it to the stage as I was starting to say, Mr. Onyx.
Good evening. Good evening. Thanks for letting me be here.
Yeah. All right. And then next up, we have the beautiful, the gorgeous, and she's my baby, Miss Christina Matthews. That's right, girl. Give it up. Next up, we have, he just turned 60 and fabulous. My wonderful god brother there, Mr. Cornell Stewart. Hey, hey, hey.
I'm ready.
He's ready. He's
And
sitting up
then we
ready.
have, again, another one of the Matthews family, my handsome and adoring son, Mr. Daryl Matthews.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Love you, Mom.
Oh,
Oh, it's so sweet. And
oh.
then I have my niecey here. My niecey also, it's a family affair, guys. And my great niecey look like right there in the picture. We have Miss Brittany.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
She's
Nice
like,
to be here.
hi.
That's also Onyx.
And then we also have one of my bests rolling with us today as well, Miss Jeanette Stewart.
Hello.
We ain't hearing you because you're still muted, but it's all right.
And then we got the
And we
waves.
know we have my own self, Miss Talina Matthews, as your host. So thank you all for being here. I cannot wait for us to have this conversation. When Shantay was here with us last, there was so much additional conversation that she and I had even after the show ended that we both basically thought we need to do this again. We need to bring some folks on. Let's have a panel discussion and let's get into this conversation. But before we do, I'm going to let her go ahead and recap again the name of her book and the title and the gist of this book so we can really break into this conversation today. So, Shantay, take it away.
All right, all right. So my name is Shantay Adams, and I am the published author of Release the Honey Within You, and it is 7 keys to beautify the overly aggressive to become a virtue honeybee lady. And the reason why this book came about is because I was once married and now divorced, and after some time of some self-reflection, really a humbling process is what I like to call it. That was a time for me to really figure out what's going on with me. And I realized I had came about with some things from my upbringing as being raised by a single mother and being just really overly aggressive in nature, and how that impacts our relationships and how that impacted my marriage. And so because of that, it took me on a process. I call it a journey. I really call it an adventure in the book but I had to really deal with myself. And so now, you know, this book is a self-help book. It's there to help ladies who are overly aggressive, whether you could be a leader. Because I was an overachiever and I was overly aggressive. I was like to be in control and wanted to dominate. And because of women who we are that way, it could be very put off. It could be, it damages relationships. It could be not only just a relationship between men and women, but just in general relationships. So I want to talk about that. That's what this book is. We're going to have a discussion with men and get men's perspective on how is it when a woman is too aggressive, when she's not balanced. Because balance is something that me and Selena, we spoke about on the last time I was here about being balanced. And the honeybee is just a play on words, but it really paints a picture of a woman who's balanced, who's stable. And sometimes it takes for us to have those conversations, ladies, those deep conversations as well, to really get into the heart of what's really the issue and how we can move forward from that issue. So those are some of the things we talked about the last time, and we talked about some things off camera about what does men say about this and what do men say about this, because women are now in this age of modern day and women want to be very independent and I don't need a man kind of mindset. And now we're saying, no, ladies, we actually do need a man, and a man does need a lady. We need to be together. It's called purpose partner for a reason. And so it's just really having those conversations, especially women who don't know how to be soft. I didn't grow up with a household where we were very nurturing and affectionate. So I grew up more harder than I should have. I should have been more soft, but knowing how to be firm. So those are some things we talked about. And I want us to kind of talk about that and really dig into why is that. And not to say that women, we can't be strong. I'm not here to say women got to be weak and a passover of just let somebody run all over you. No, I believe in being, as I like to say, the lion, but also the lamb. And we don't talk about that. We want to be like lion, power, power, power. But who's know how to be soft and say, I'm a lady, and I'm still carry myself like a lady. So that's what that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So fellas, I want to hear your perspective, and the ladies on here. You know, what do you think about that? And have you experienced some of those things that I outlined? I didn't go into a whole lot of detail, but just a quick overview. Just what are your thoughts on that? So turn back to you, Talina.
Yes, and that is exactly the point, because many of us know already, right? That we see it every day. We see it all over social media. It's all about the boss. You know, I'm a boss lady. I'm a boss woman. I'm a boss. And there's nothing wrong with being a boss. But you also, like she said, I know, because I really can speak for myself. I know that I showed up that way most of the time, right?
I did too.
And the thing about it is, in showing up that way, I was also the one that says, no, but I want to be the girl. I just want to be, I want to be the girl. I just want to play my role in my position. But it was competing, right? So I'm doing this. This is what's happening. So you have to understand where you are, right? What's your position, meaning how you are carrying yourself. And also what you're asking for, because you're asking for something that's not really how you're carrying yourself. So, that's a direct conflict. So I do really want to hear the men chime in, because I don't know, like we talked about, I'm very much on the side of the men in a lot of ways here. So, all right, Cornell, I see you.
So
Go.
I'm ready for this one. So believe it or not, I believe the men set the stage. The reason, in my opinion, a lot of women are hard is because someone has to occupy the alpha role and set the stage. And if we as men don't give the women an environment to be the queen and to become soft, they have no other option but to hold on to that hard role. So again, I've been friends with Talina for a very long time. And I watch her behavior just as my god sister. When she's around me, she has the freedom to be soft because there's no question that I have our environment. When we go out, when we have fun, when it comes to business or protection, she knows I have her. Same as my wife. But when you see women, and I'm not making a all or nothing statement, more of a generalization, when you see women who feel the need to still be in that alpha position, is because the man has not stepped up and relieved her of the responsibility and says, baby, I got this. So I believe the honey flows from the man to the woman, and in turn, it flows back. They're the garden, we're the planters. So they are a reflection of what we plant into their environment. So if we see them being hard, it's our fault. We have not sowed the honey seed into their garden.
That's a really good perspective on that. I actually like what you said, Khalil, about that, because it puts it back on the man. But what do you say? Let me ask you this question. What do you say when a woman said, I want him to leave, but yet she still don't know how to let him handle it?
Exactly.
But my thought is, it's because she has never experienced an environment where she's had a man handle it. So it'll take a little bit longer. It'll take, what I'm going to use the word of behavioral convincing. We have to reassure her that she can let it go, because maybe her father wasn't there, her previous relationships didn't do it. So therefore, up until however old she is now, she has not had the experience of being able to release that responsibility. She's been told you can, but she's been let down. So therefore, you pop into the scene. Now it's your 10 months against her 35 years. It might take a minute to give her a sense of comfort or confidence in your abilities to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in on this. So this is a good conversation. I would say,
Here we go.
I would agree.
Here we go.
I would agree with Cornell for sure, where it does start with the man. I would say that, especially for a woman that's looking at companionship, like with a man and a certain type of man, right? Those two things are, not all men are the same. And I think it does start with one of the things you said, Shantay, is that you wanted to figure out who you were. Once you figure out who you are, then you understand who your companion would be. That goes vice versa. I would definitely say that there is this thing about when women say, the boss thing, boss chick, boss this. I don't necessarily, there's a difference between being a boss and there's a difference between being a leader. A leader is someone who is able to take a back seat at times, but also see the value in others, right? A boss is just someone who just bosses people around. Like, that's why I'm bossing you around, as somebody who just, I'm a boss. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. There's an I aspect to being a boss. When you are saying a position of leadership, right? When a woman looks at a man as a leader, not a boss, not a tyrant. When a man looks at his woman as a leader, right? There's a difference, because we can all lead, right? Even at the quote unquote lower levels of our job, right? If I'm not the manager, but I can still be a leader at my level, right? I can perform well, do my own job, whatever, right? So when we shape our perspectives around being a boss, like boss is I can do this, I can do this, I can look at this, I got my own this, I got this, I got my job. I see it as leadership, whereas if we can change the words around and we look at being a boss as a certain level of person of leadership, confidence, when we get together as a group, as a companion in a union, we can have a very different conversation as how we're going to lead this relationship. You're going to lead in this area. I'm going to lead in this area. That's a different type of conversation, and it's a different type of perspective that I think is supposed to come, like Unc said, from a man to say, hey, like, this is where we need to go. This is what we need to do. This is where I would need your leadership. This is a place that we can.
Yeah, but you got to remember though, that perspective that you have, that's not what people are typically walking around with, right? Like these women, their perspective of that boss statement is not just the leaders from a leadership perspective, right? Because we see this every day. We know it. I know it. I know women who do it, just like I know most of us do. And that's the part that I'm coming back to, which is you can't say, you want all of these things, you want this companionship, you want a relationship, but yet and still, the way you're showing up right now, you're showing up like you're really trying to take over the relationship. So now it's a conflict between, you and him. So you're trying to take his position or be in the position of the man at the same time saying, oh no, but I want to be the woman of this relationship. And that's not how you're showing up. That's not what you're doing. Sorry. Oh, go ahead. I see you.
No, I'm listening to you. I'm listening. No.
Yeah,
Continue your thought.
because at the end of the day, you know, we have to own that. Like,
Yes.
we really have to own that. And we're not owning it. We're owning it from the standpoint of like, yeah, you know, because I got this, you know, I got my, as they say, my bag. I got this, I got that, I got this, and I don't need.
We don't care about that. We don't care about that.
I understand, but that's why we're having this conversation. Sorry,
Yes.
Jeanette, go ahead. You had something to say?
Fellas, can the fellas finish?
Sorry.
And Jeanette together. Somebody got to mute.
There you go. All right.
About that. I think first we definitely have to deal with self-healing before we can get into a position where we
Yes.
cannot be confrontational or feel like we need to be the boss because we've had some experience or bad experiences with other relationships, father not being present, or boyfriends or husbands. We have to heal from that.
That's
And
right.
that's what we aren't doing. We're not healing from that. We're carrying
That's right.
the baggage from one relationship to the next. We're not giving ourselves time to heal. We're not giving ourselves time to really explore who we are internally. We're not in touch with being vulnerable because
Yes.
you know, so many people think vulnerability is weak, but vulnerability is so strong. And
So strong.
I think that that's our first issue, is that we aren't doing that. Some of us don't even know to do it. Some of us are embarrassed to do it. But definitely, I believe that's the first step in getting to that place of being a woman, a honey woman, is being able to address the challenges that you that you've had in your past and heal from those issues.
That's well said,
Absolutely.
Jeanette. And I want to ask,
Yes.
okay, Onyx, go ahead. I want to ask something.
Go ahead, O.
I must play devil's advocate here. I must.
Yes.
History continues to be history.
Mm-hmm.
My question at this point is, when did we change from the submissive woman that was the leader in the household to the boss woman that's running stuff now?
So
let me finish real
go
quick.
ahead.
If you watch that movie Fences, right? What's her name? Alfrea Woodard, I believe that's her name, and Denzel Wilford. Okay? Denzel, he went to work every day. He brought that paycheck home. No matter what, he gave that money to that lady. That lady ran the household. He slipped up. He produced a whole new baby, right? That woman took care of that baby like it was her own. Our women of today, they don't want no parts of that. That's the real talk. They don't want that. They want to be, I'm the boss. I'm running this. The fellas are supposed to just, okay. And most of us fellas who don't have it together, we succumb to it. We give you guys that right to be able to be the quote unquote boss, but then we sit here and we complain to our fellow brothers that she running this. I can't do nothing. Well, why do we allow that to change from history? History has been repeated over and over. Way back in the slavery days to today, the mothers are still running it. I'm a product of a single parent home. So why did we let that change? When did it change?
So I spoke about, it's funny you say that before Jeanette, when Jeanette was done speaking, I was going to add that. So honest, we're on the same page there, because I talk about that in the book. And when it came to me, the understanding I have when things really changed is when we went to war, and the men were gone, and the women had no choice but to go into the workforce. And from that time on, I think I was back in the 20s, was that World War One. But however, that's when it changed. But prior to it changing, there was a movement by women, and I mentioned the woman who started the women's movement. And when that movement came, it created a ripple effect from decades, from this decade to this decade to this decade to this decade of women now in the workforce. So before we get to this present time, when men came back from war, the women were working. Remember, they got the shirt, the one with this right here with her arm out. She's like, I can work, I can go out there and do what the man do. Why do I need a man? So those little things became normalized over time. And so because of that, when men came home, they was like, well, I don't know how to relate to her. I can't just bring home the bacon and she gonna, cook the food and take care of the household, like you talk about in the movie Fence. No, the women wanted to work. And so because of that, women want to work now. You don't find too many women who wants to stay in the household. And it's okay for women to want to work. It's the fact that we getting back to our roles, knowing who we are, even if we both people are working in the household. And I think that's where it started from. But to your point, men did accept it. Now men are speaking out and say, hey, like, what's up with this woman? Man, she is this. So men are crying. I may exaggerate when I say this, but I just feel like men are like crying out for the woman to respect them as the man. But at the same time, the men, like you said, Cornell, the men has to set that stage. But at the same time, like Jeanette said, we as women have to heal. In the book, I talk about how I had to heal. I literally had to heal. It was a humbling process because I had to look in the mirror and see myself like, whoa.
Exactly.
My divorce wasn't all about him. I don't even talk about my ex-husband. I talk about Shantay because I had to own it. To Jeanette's point, I had to own all the ugliness that I was pouring out. That's why I said you get more with honey than vinegar. That's why I talk about the honey so much, because the honey is the softer woman, the woman who thinks before she speaks. Honey is the woman who got wisdom, not earthly wisdom, but wisdom from above. Honey is that woman who knows who she is, her identity, and walks in that, and know that she can be strong and firm, but yet soft and gentle. And I'm speaking for that. I'm advocating for women to get back to that nature that we just let just fall by the wayside by trying to prove and validate ourselves in our status.
I want to.
Well, hold on. Before you say, Daryl, I want to recognize a few that are on here. So Latanya Arthur-Mensah says, as women, we really don't want that. We have been forced into it. So that's definitely another perspective, right? Mm-hmm. We've got a comment here from Jason. Hi, Jason.
Yo, boy, what up, man?
It says the change comes from the system, forcing the man out of the household and letting the government become the head of the household. Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
I want to touch on two things because
hold on. Got a couple other
You see who's in control, right?
Slow down, Sparky. I'm the navigator here, buddy. I'm the
boss.
Hold up. Okay.
What happened to the honey, y'all?
I'm the boss.
I'm the boss
on this one.
Peace and love. Yes, peace and love. There's some honey flowing here now.
So we have another couple of comments here that I definitely want to recognize. Well, first of all, there's a few other folks that are also here, and I do want to thank them for showing up too. They are a lot of folks that come from our G-Men After Dark conversation and discussion. We got Pastor Bear in the house. Hey, Pastor Bear. Wrong one. I clicked the wrong one, but hey, Pastor Bear. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Hello to Renee Elise. Thank you for being here as well. And she says, this topic right here.
Right here.
So, this is resonating with people, guys. Also, we've got another comment coming back in from Latanya who says, especially our men didn't have opportunities to have jobs to take care of their families, and women, I guess maybe that was had to help. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are at play, in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
And I think even in our conversation, and O mentioned it as well. And I know I can say this for myself. I too was raised by a single mother, right? Mm-hmm. My dad was around, but he didn't live in our household. So, our relationship was from a distance, right? So I had to learn everything I had to learn from my mother. And my mom basically taught my brother and I, listen, no one's going to do it for you. You got to do it for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. You have to take care of each other. You got to go out there and get it and grind and make it happen. So when you hear that, and by watching what she did, go to school, work multiple jobs, come home, take care of us, feed us, clothe us, take care of, and still do everything else for herself that she needed to, it also has an impact on how you see that you need to be potentially in a relationship or just in life in general, because that's what you saw your whole life. So again, I think these are things, and to Jeanette's point and to yours, yeah, you have to come to an understanding about that, you know, for yourself. And O and I have this conversation on G-Men After Dark, and I have had to do that work, right? Look at myself and say, okay, well, if I want to show up like this, or this is the kind of woman I want to be, then this no longer works. Like, it just doesn't. It can't. So go ahead, Daryl. What were you going to say?
I'm glad you. That was a good segue, because that was my point in terms of like the work. When we talk about the self work, I think a lot of us, we need to respect that the work for men and women are going to be totally different. I think that for men, like if we don't perform, or if our habits, our decisions, our lifestyle, it's on the forefront. You guys as women and as other men are going to be able to see that, and constantly we're going to always have to do work, because the culture, social media, our jobs, everybody's going to be able to tell us, you really not it. You a loser. You got to do this. You do this. You do this. And that's why I think the work for men is a little bit on the forefront, versus the work for women is a little bit more like behind the scenes and more eternal. Because I would say that I love and I really enjoy these conversations, because now we're seeing more women communicating and talking about and expressing what that work looks like. So then now you can go see another woman and be able to talk and have those kind of conversations and say, you know what, let me write a book, or let me do this. So now more women are coming together and say, this is a real issue. The same thing is happening for men, but I would say it already has been happening. As you see our numbers, especially in our community as Black people, they are increasing as men climbing up the corporate ladder and things of that nature. Not saying it's not for women, but there's no real reason, I would say, as far as the benefit for women to climb the corporate ladder and be a boss in that area. A lot of women are finding out that that's not necessarily what they truly want. It may feel good in the moment, but in the long term, it's not necessarily like you're still missing. But for men, we like that. Like that's like, regardless, as long as we feel good at work, our boys is cool. Yeah, we have a woman. We'll always feel fulfilled as we're going up the corporate ladder, doing this and being that, until we decide to retire with our family. But we find a joy of doing what we're doing and climbing up. Not saying that all women, but I'm saying I think most women who want to be in a relationship and want to be with a man, they will most likely want to have all that what makes you a boss in the corporate world. You can take that same energy, and I think most women will want to pour that into their family, into something to cultivate that, and before they go out to the work world. Like to your point, Ma, I know you may be forced into that, but that was something that you had to do. You got pushed in the deep end of the pool. But yet, if it was your choice,
but that's the point, though. That's another part of the point. And I mean, the comments are blowing up, so I need to get to a couple of these guys because they are blowing up. So, for instance, and I have a couple of questions, but this is going so fast, I don't know if we're going to get to them. But listen, this Jason's, I gotta find it now. I mean, they are flying in here. Hold on. But one of the comments was, sometimes you need the vinegar, right? I'm looking for it. Which, you know, we really need to look at that. So, and this is coming from a man. Hold on, I'm looking for his comment. Jeez. Hey, if you see it, can you find it for me?
I'll look. Right.
All right. Because that is one of my questions, right? Because it's not that you want, I mean, some men actually desire to have a woman that's a little more, that has a little bit more of that aggressive tendency, I guess, or that independent nature, or whatever you want to call it. There are some that won't.
Found it.
You found it? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just read it. Jason says, don't count out vinegar because it has its benefits.
Yes.
Perfect.
There it is.
It has its benefits as well as honey.
Honey,
key is balance of the two.
Yep, and that's exactly what Shantay was saying. And then there's a couple of others here, right? That says, Let me see. This one here talks about, Jason is on it. Jason going. He says the easy access of people nowadays also has a major role in the dynamic of how a relationship functions. Back in the day, people were more willing to work it out because they didn't have the access to people the way they do now. At the swipe of a finger, you can have a new partner. Yeah. Boom. Mm. And that's, we got to pay attention to that. This isn't new. Pastor Bear says, first you have to ask yourself, are you ready for a godly relationship? You know, this is the starting point. If you don't want to submit and die of self, then you just want a boo thing, not a husband.
That is true. That is true.
So, I mean, and the hits keep coming, so we're not done yet. But go ahead. We had a couple hands raised. Go ahead, Jeanette. Oh, sorry, Daryl. We'll come right back to you.
No, I was going to end on this point. I think, I love the fact that God got into it because that's what.
We're going to get there.
Men have to do.
We're going to get there.
Like, to be honest, like when we talk about our healing process, because it's on the forefront of life, everybody's going to see when we're not doing what we're supposed to do, and we're going to hear about it. From women, men, everybody on the forefront, we're going to hear about it. Yeah. But in order to deal with that as a man, you have to have a relationship to continue to pour out into society, continue to pour out into your woman, continue to pour out into your family, into the things that matter to you. In order for you to get through that process and deal with no's and deal with rejection, you have to have a relationship with a creator, whatever God looks like to any, to anybody that's on this call. But that's what it's really about as a man. So when I go back to leadership, then when you see a woman dealing with her process and she has some of these things that we're talking about, as a man with a relationship with God, it may not be perfect because none of us are. But because you have a relationship, you will be able to lead. And now when she's dealing with certain things, you'll be able to show her, come with me, I can show you how to get through that because I've had to deal with that on a daily basis as a man. This is what we have to deal with. And I'm going to end on that point.
I'm going to come back to that. Go ahead, Jeanette, you're muted.
I think I just was going to say, I think a couple of times I heard a few people associate a woman of honey with maybe less aggressive, or even the word weak was used. And I think that also taints the word, and women want to shy away from that. Talina, you and I have had conversation about that, and the use of those words doesn't sound like power, doesn't sound like strength, but those are not accurate definitions of a woman who knows how to act with restraint. And so I think we need to definitely get to a place where we are identifying the strength that it takes to be a woman of honey, or I'm not sure what how you're labeling her, but because there is a lot of strength in that, to know how to choose your battles, to know how to not make it important about making a point. I mean, those are all things that women who don't want to be the boss, or at least don't want to always have to be in control, those are some of the positive behaviors that exude from that woman. So we need to make sure that when we are talking about this woman of honey, that we are not using words like weak, because she is in no way weak. And of course, you probably hear from me, I am that kind of woman, and I'm not weak. In my relationship, I choose to be how I am with my husband. Now, put me in a business suit in an office, then I might be your worst enemy, because I am a boss, and that is what I'm there to do. But in my relationship with my husband, I'm a different woman. I should be, and I want to be. It is my choice. And I know that dealing with him, and even just dealing with other people in other relationships, I get much further with the honey I dish out than any vinegar that I've ever used in my life.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to add a little more clarity, if that's okay. Do it just for the audience.
We got a feedback coming. I think that's Cornell's hand doing something. Okay, go ahead, Shantay.
And I just want to add this, just add more context, just even for the audience out there. And I want to read something out in a book just to provide more clarity, if that's okay.
And before you do that, let me just say, so she is getting ready to talk about our conversation of tonight. That's why it's a little hot and heated in here. But we are.
Shout out to the fellas.
Yeah. We are having this wonderful conversation around, you know, the overly aggressive woman and, you know, attracting, how we can really look to attract more with honey than with vinegar. So go ahead, Miss Shantay, go ahead and say what you were going to say.
I want to just add just a piece of what is a virtue honeybee lady, and I define it in the book as a type of lady that is balanced in her character, because personality, that's how we were designed by God. He gave us that personality, but the character is something we can all work on and evolve and grow and change. Character. She is a sweet, kind-hearted, loving, humble lady, while simultaneously being firm, strong, bold, powerful, courageous, vigorous, sharp, unbreakable, and unstoppable. So this lady I'm talking about is a well-balanced woman who knows her identity, firm in her identity and balanced. And so I add on, she is a force to be reckoned with in modern day society. As to Jeanette's point, she's not weak. The one who released the honey is not a weak woman. She knows who she is, and she's valuable, and she has value. And so I talk about that in the book. So I paint the picture very clear. So those who have the book or want to get the book, it's very clear. I breaks it down. I talk about how the honey and the bee plays a part in there, and how bees produce. They produce, and they are valuable. So this woman knows her worth. She knows her value, because she has been healed. And I talk about my story in here. So I go very personal. I get very vulnerable talking about the honey and what it looks like. So people know that it's not a weak woman. No, this woman is a beautiful woman, a beautiful lady, as I like to say, a lady. Because I believe that any girl can grow up to be a woman, but not every woman is a lady. Yeah, and I believe there's a distinction in that. And so this woman carries herself like a lady and is a lady. And so I want to just put that out there for those who are not familiar with the book and coming on just to the conversation. It's all about relationship and how that impacts relationships. And I want to add something else, but I will come back to it later. But
that's okay. I want to put up this statement from Jason again, because Jason's on fire tonight. Thank you, Jason. Love this participation. He says, we're going against the natural design of what is supposed, because we have taken God out of our lives from a young age and are now leaning on the understanding of man. Mm-hmm. So, and then Betty says, thank you for being here, Miss Betty. Being a single mom, it was important for me to be the provider, and therefore my dependence had to be on God. So Elise is actually chiming in, Renee Elise, and she says that she was agreeing with, you know, what Jason said, what Jason said, swipe, DM, new partner. Yeah. You know, no healing in between, just move on to the next one. So we just, you know, and that's the difference, you know, that is today's time. That we didn't have that. We didn't have no swiping. We didn't have no internet. We didn't have any of that stuff. You wanted to meet somebody, there was conversation. It was a different time. But we talking about today. So I feel like it makes it a whole lot easier, especially because you can hide, right? You can hide behind these computers. You can hide behind your phone. You know, you can be anybody, look like anything, right? You can say anything you want. You can portray yourself in any kind of light you'd like. I mean, it's just, that's where we are. So when you talk about being authentic and being real and being vulnerable and choosing to be the lady that you want to be, not like you said, not just a woman, because, you know, we're women, but are you a lady? And there is a definite, you know, even in the definition that we read before of what a lady is, you know, that's, even when you think about a lady, you're not just thinking about just any fly by night. Even for me, I know in my mind, I get this image of this very, you know, well-postured, you know, woman with great etiquette. And, you know what I mean? She is balanced and, you know, she understands her role in her family dynamic. And, you know, that's like the lady for me. I don't know what that looks like for you guys, but, you know, to me, when you brought this to me, I'm thinking, yeah, that makes all the sense in my world, because, you know, that's what I continue to aspire, you know, to be. I want to be the best, not just the best woman that I can be, but a lady, you know, a real, okay, Cornell's got something for us, you know, but a lady in the streets. What you say? Go ahead, Corn. Let's see what you got. What
lady
you
in the
got?
streets, but a
Lady in these
I'm
streets.
sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I had to throw that one out for our G-Man audience.
Hey.
I want to respond
go
to
ahead,
an earlier comment. You know, as Black men, we are quick to take on the title of king. We throw it around all day long. King, 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 king. The issue I have with that is we want the title, but we don't want the work and responsibility. Now, I heard a statement saying the system takes care of whatever it is and opportunities. But my belief is, and this is not to downplay the effect of the system, but if we believe that we're a chosen people, birthed by God, extra strong and king, then there is nothing that should stop us from accomplishing the goals that we have set for ourselves. So even though, yes, we have the ability to swipe left and right, just because we have the option doesn't mean that we have to choose it. And if we're going to claim the responsibility of king, then we got to stick to our kingdom. Ain't no king bouncing from kingdom to kingdom.
Right.
Ain't no king saying, oh, you know what? That other king then stepped in and won't allow me to run my people. There's no king acquiescing their kingliness to any other person or situation. So if we are truly Black kings, as we call ourselves, then we're unstoppable in our ability to provide a safe household for our women to heal and to be soft. So I believed in the no excuse king role. Doesn't say we don't have obstacles. I'm not even saying it's fair, but I'm saying everything we want to do, we have been given the God given ability to accomplish that, even if it's difficult. So we got to stop saying, oh, they or he or she. It really comes down to, if we are the kings that we say we are, then we have to act like the king who is running his kingdom without excuse.
Okay, well, you got a couple of them too up here. You got some folks that's like, say that, Cornell. Okay.
You know, I have a question, and I'm really curious to hear Brittany and Christina's response, but I also want to hear the men's response. So I want to pose two questions, but I'm gonna pose them one at a time. We can discuss it, and I'll come back to the second one. Because as you were talking, that question was coming to mind. So I had wrote in the book about a story about when a man and a woman went on a date, and it was time for the bill to be paid. And the woman got offended that the man reached to pay the bill. So my question to the men, the gentlemen on the panel, what would you do in that situation? Are you okay with the woman who wants to pay the bill, or you rather you pay the bill? And I say to Christina and Brittany, are you in your generation, because you seem a bit younger, would you be okay in this time of society? Because there's a lot of women in today's society, they want to pay the bill, because some women have said to me, because I posed this question just in the book, and I also talked about it in other settings. And some women have said that they rather pay the bill because they don't want the men to think that they owe them anything. Now, where they get that thinking from, I don't know. But women my age and older, and even women younger, say that they rather pay the bill. Some say that if he takes them out, he can pay, but if they go out, she'd rather pay that bill. And I don't agree with that. If a man takes me out, he's gonna pay the bill. I believe I'm tradition and my value in that. But I want to hear what the women have to say, you two ladies, and then what the men, you guys say on as far as that, in terms of the women. So
no doubt. Who we got? Go ahead, Miss Christina.
Okay, so to answer that question, when I go out on a date, I would ask if it's okay if I pay the bill or you got it. But typically, I kind of already have in my mind that the man got it, like as he should. That's how I think, like he got it. But because I'm still, to add to what Shantay was saying, yeah, I don't want to make it seem like he's gonna like he owes me something, or I'll still ask, like, you got it, or you want me to help out, or I can leave the tip, and they're like, nah, you ain't gotta pull nothing out. So at least I ask versus just always assuming that he got it, even though in my mind I'm like, he should be paying for the bill. But I'll still ask. I've had like previous relationships where a man would be like, can you go half? And of course that just hasn't worked. I think that that's something that shouldn't go down that just shouldn't go down. So yeah, I ask, if that's okay. And usually they're like, no, or I'll leave the tip, something. Because I don't want to make it seem like, you always have to pay for everything. So
But the question comes back to, but why is that? Like,
why is that?
And I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just simply saying, like, because I have heard other women. Hold on.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've heard other people say, right, that I don't want to owe him anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it shouldn't, if he asked you out on a date, right? I mean, he asked you out, and you guys, if that conversation hadn't been had, then there should be an automatic assumption that that's what kind of how it's working. And I'm also paying a little bit of devil's advocate, and Brittany, you can chime in on this too, because this is kind of where you guys are in this. So, but go ahead, Christina. I didn't want to cut you off if you were still saying something.
I just think that in this time, like, it seems like people's money ain't quite right, or men look to the woman to, still pay for things. So, nowadays, our generation, a man is like, you got money, or they looking for a sugar mama. Like, that's something that I've seen happen. So that's why I ask, because I don't want to make it seem like, you got to always pay for everything, especially if it's just a date. You're not my man. So that's a little different, where I feel like, that's an expected thing for him to hold it down. But if we're just going on a date, then yeah, I'm going to ask, like, is there, like, you got it? Like, yeah, I got it. Okay. All right. So yeah, I just ask. I think it's important to ask.
Okay, Brittany?
Yeah.
I feel like, can you hear me? Because I got this AirPod
in.
I feel like specifically in this generation, I'm sorry. I think specifically in this generation, the conversation of women paying versus men paying is actually kind of two conversations. Because there are some of us who want to pay because, again, we don't want to owe the man, or we are in this era of women empowerment, which I don't necessarily think is a group that consists primarily of us versus others. There's this thing that if I'm a woman, if I don't have my own job, I don't have my own money, if I allow a man to do XYZ, then I am not strong and I cannot do for myself, and a man dictates. There's it's a lot against that. I'm not in that conversation. I just when I go out, which is never, but when I do go out, I prepare myself to pay if I need to pay, but I am not going to ask you if I need to pay, because if you've asked me to come out, if you've asked to take me out, then I'm going to assume that you understand that means from A to Z taking me out, not thinking that anything is implied because you asked to take me out because you want, again, I will pay if needed. I have definitely I've been in the relationships in which, you have the man who has the potential but may not have the money, and you want him to feel this, so you may slide a card under the table so he could pay on your behalf. I shan't do that no more. So I'm not going to ask you if I need to pay or if I need to cover myself. I'm not even going to put that thought in your mind, because if I had that thought, then you're not taking me out. We're meeting each other, and then that's a different thing altogether. I do understand the idea of not wanting to feel like you owe somebody, because there are a lot of men who think that just because they have taken you out, or they have spent a certain amount of money, or they have taken you to a certain place, that now you owe them something. But realistically, what I owed you was the date that you paid for. And that's really my standpoint, which is not something that goes over easy, because it makes you sound like, I don't know what I sound like right now. Yeah. But that's what it's
the reality.
Because if I'm taking myself out, I can go out by myself. I can go out with the homegirls and my brothers or something, and I can pay for myself, or I can go out and pay for myself. And if I go out and pay for myself, then I'm not going out on a date. We're just meeting, and we're having It's just a hangout, and it's not the same thing. You're not courting me. I like to be
Got you.
courted.
Yep. No,
That's
hold
really.
on,
Agree with
Cornell.
that. I like what you said, Brittany.
Hold on, Cornell. Hold on, Cornell. Go ahead, O.
It's sad. It's unfortunate, but dating is a lost art.
Yeah.
It's a lost art because
easy.
I mean, just to
Yeah.
listen to my sisters here, my young ladies. I have a 21-year-old daughter, 21, and to hear you ladies say that there is no expectation at the end of the date. Well, if we've been doing this for a minute, maybe. But if I'm taking you out, hey, you want to go out? Can I take you out? That means that fella is reaching in his pocket. If he's not financially prepared to take you out on a date, he's not supposed to take you anywhere.
No, that's true.
Right? We're supposed to just, hey, you know what? We're getting
I agree with
together,
that.
a group of us. We're going bowling. Then you pay for you and I'll pay for me, and boom. But if I call you up, Christina, what you doing? I want to see you. I want to take you out.
Yeah.
I'm in my pocket, period.
Yeah.
Now, for those ladies that are strong-minded, I want to pay. That might be my door in for date number 2, right?
Yes.
That might be my way in, or I'm gonna be like, no, I got it. No, I really want to pay. Okay, well, we're not gonna argue here, but can I see you again?
Right.
It's a lost art that fellas, Cornells, Onyx, those of us who are dads, I'm not sure about Daryl, I'm not sure, but those of us who are dads, we're supposed to be teaching our sons the art of dating. Those of us who have daughters, we're supposed to be teaching our daughters the art of dating. I'm a single parent product. My mom raised me. My mom raised me the way she wanted my dad to treat her. Probably why it gets me in trouble now, because I know how to talk to a lady. I have more ladies around me than a little bit. And that's not to boast and brag, but honey, right? Honey, you have to feed the honey into the ladies from the fella standpoint for the ladies to spew more honey out. If you make them comfortable, they'll give you the world. But at the same time, the real women, the real honey-filled woman, she's got some vinegar in her. She's going to be the one to tell you, yo, you need to keep some money in your pocket because you ain't taking nobody nowhere empty.
Yeah.
Pay your rent. You always late on your car note. Something. She's that woman that's balanced and she can hit you on both ends. That's
Exactly.
my time.
And that is exactly the point. So just as it was mentioned before, sometimes you need a little vinegar. Yeah, you do. Because otherwise then you could be seen as that pushover, right? But you got to stand up. You got to stand up for yourself. It's the same thing. Like, hey, look, you're not paying your bills on time. What's going on? We have to address those kinds of things. We can't just let them just, fall by the wayside. Go ahead, Cornell. I saw you. I see you are
So-
anxious. Get in there.
This is not a bill question. This is not a money
It's
question.
not.
No,
It
it's
isn't.
not.
No.
It's not.
I'm saying, but this is not even a dating question. What this is the statement was, I don't want to feel obligated to the man, which means a man who takes a woman on a date has made her feel that this is a barter for sex or intimacy. So it goes back to if women are feeling this way, it is because a certain number of men have behaved this way to give women the feeling that we are not going on a date to get to know you. I am paying for you in exchange for some intimacy. So it's not about the money. It could be, come by the house, let me fix some food, whatever it is. This is not a chance to get to know you. I am trying to use you to satisfy myself, which goes back to the man being able to set the environment. Because if men courted or dated effectively, women wouldn't feel this way. Most of the things that we're talking about are responses to behaviors. And if we're the king and all of our, I want to use the word subjects, but it sounds so bad, but all of the people who live in our kingdom feel this way, then I need to reevaluate my king behavior and those folks in my court. So it goes back to the fact that we are still making people feel a certain way because of our actions, causing them to take on a different persona because we have not allowed them to trust us, or our behavior has proven to be untrustworthy.
But that's what we're finding though. The majority of the time, that is exactly the scenario. So again, it's not about the money. It's not about the who pays. It's not about all that. But it is about, look at how things, to Jason's point and Pastor Bear's and even ours here on the panel, look at how far we've gone from here to here. Like, if it's not about money, where are you? Like, why is this now the new mantra? Okay, yeah. So essentially, this is all you're talking about. It's not about, really, to your point, getting to know anybody. It is the barter. Okay, I'm gonna take you out and I'm gonna get something.
The barter.
But if we know that that's not how, because to me, this is the healing, or this is the part that we have to work at, like as women, then you can't give into that. You can't be a part of that. You have to stand on the island by yourself and know that, no, I'm not going to participate. Because the more we participate and still allow, right? Because we're giving into the fact that it's a barter, whether it's said or not. You may have, this might be your first date. You don't know as the woman it's going to be the barter, but he already know it's going to be the barter. So, but now you're here. So it's like, what's the answer to that? Like, how do you get around that? What do you do? Because that is exactly what's happening today.
And our point is, this should be a question to the men, because we're talking about the response to the barter. The question should be, why aren't you presenting yourself in a way that makes a woman feel like you value her, not just what she can give you? So my point was, a lot of the conversations are about the honey of the woman, but it should also be about the gardening of the man. So that's what I want.
Absolutely,
I agree with that. And so I had men buy the book too. And it's funny you say that, because men, it's for women. Yes, it's for women. It talks about women, but men have seen value in the book, because it reiterates your point, Pernell, about how the fact, if the men were supporting the honey and the women are eating the honey, they'll release the honey. So I'm glad you said, and I'm glad you recognize it, because I hadn't even just put that out there. But the mere fact that you did it, that means you get it and you see the significance of it. So I appreciate you saying it. But I asked that question. I know you haven't spoke, Darrell, and I'll get back quiet. I asked that question, and just to give you guys a little bit more context of that date that I just set up for you guys, I want to see your reactions to that. Is the fact it was, the man went on 2 dates, and the first date was with a woman who was very offended that he had even tried to reach over and get the bill, and he didn't know how to respond to her, because he was put off the fact that, wait a minute, how she get all upset and get offended that he even wanted to pay for the meal. And so it speaks to the dynamics and the culture that we're in, that women are finding. There are some women are finding validation in the fact that she's able to pay for the meal. And we have to speak to that. And so I get what you're saying, Cornell, about is the fact that, did the man show up? That he was willing to pay for the meal, but she was offended and she was upset. Now, granted, they didn't go back on a second date, but he went on a date with another woman, and she was the more traditional. And that same man didn't know how to respond to this second woman, because he didn't know if he should, and that goes back to the man on his kingdom. But the man, he didn't went on a second date. Now he's tripping like, wait a minute, I don't know how to respond. And that's a real deal for a lot of men.
Absolutely.
Because they try to respect the woman being who she is. But then they said, but some of them don't know how to handle it and say, hey, no, I'm the man and this is this and this and that. They're not sure how to respond to that. So he's on his second date and he didn't know how to respond. And this lady was looking like, wait a minute, I'm expecting him to pay the bill because he asked me out.
Exactly.
And now you see how the communication has broken down. And so it took the woman to say, hey, and she did. She said, well, I'm more of a traditional woman. I am accomplished, but I believe in those traditional values of a man who asked me to take me out on a date, that he would pay for my meal. And then the communication that was once broken began to be restored, because now this man has the courage to say, you know what, I went on a previous date and the woman wants to pay the bill. She said she's an independent woman. She's, she can handle it herself. I didn't know how to respond to a woman who wants me to be the man and be chivalry to her. So my question to the men is like, how do you handle that? Because there are men who have that real concern, like, hey, she is.
I would have asked her or explained to her, my paying the bill is no disrespect. It's respect to you. It's not that I am better than you, but let us love you. Let us care for you. Let this action not be one of disrespect, but let this action be a gesture that says, you are important enough for me, just to me for the first time, and let me give you this gift of just this meal. But you owe me nothing. So a little communication would have changed a perspective of what that grabbing of the bill meant to her, because everybody's paradigm of an action could be different. So just saying, this is who I am. No disrespect whatsoever. You are important enough for me to do this, and just allow me to gift this to you. And maybe her response might have been different after that.
But again, that's because you're coming still from a different perspective. And that's why we wanted all this variance in here, because you're talking about it from your old head, from an old head perspective. We're not talking about, well, what about these other guys? We got Daryl on here. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying, but I'm saying if he was traditional, then he should have reassured her of his traditional values and
to teach people how to treat us. And he had just been in other situations where those women were telling him something different. So again, to when O said confused, it's confusing. Oh, have you had that experience? Oh,
no, I know how to do what I need to do.
Daryl.
No, I don't think a traditional man. You say,
go ahead.
I would say I don't think a traditional man should be confused at all. To be honest, I hear a lot of points being said. I think I want to jump on Christina first because I know this is my sister, so I'm a little biased, but I understand why she's doing what she's doing from a standpoint of me personally. When I take a woman out on a date, I'm looking for a value. I'm looking for a woman to also put her value on the table too. So if a woman values money and she's willing to pay the bill or whatever else, like I'm gonna always err on the side, no, I got it. I'm gonna let her get mad because at the end of the day, there's no confusion with that. That's just how I'm built. But I think to Onyx's point is that she'll get a second date because it's my responsibility as the other partner, not as a man, but as the other partner, to tell her what I value. I don't value paying the bill, but I value doing this. So if she doesn't do that, that's why she'll get a second date, because she's willing to have to what Jeanette was saying is, yeah, she has enough honey. Like you said, that honey is wherewithal, is confidence, is sure of herself. She has enough of that right there that I can see that she'll say, you know what, this is what I value. I'm willing to do this regardless of where it stemmed from. She's willing to put that on the table and say, hey, I'm willing to pay. Now, it's my responsibility to say, no, you safe over here, I'm gonna pay. That's why it should be no confusion. And I think that anytime a man is confused, and when it comes to relationships, he's out of order. Because at the end of the day, like, a man is always gonna have the last say. He's gonna risk his life for the family, for the union. Regardless of what anybody would say, if that bothers you, then I don't know if being in a relationship with a man, a traditional man, is necessary for you. To be honest with you, because a traditional man is willing to go lay his life down for his family, for everybody. So he has to have the last say because he's the first line of defense. And I only say that from my own experiences, is that like certain men have to like we're going to value that. So there should be no confusion. Also, I would also say my second point is that, sex is a real thing. It's so readily available. Like, we've all, if I talk to a woman and she's not a virgin, like, I know sex is on her mind. I know if I'm not a virgin, which I'm not, sex will be on my mind. It's a conversation that has to be had. So I think at the end of the day, it's up to, like, if I go out and I ask a woman on a date, that's part of my conversation. Like, we're on a date, we're gonna have that conversation. There's not gonna be, oh, he's expecting this at the end of the date. No, you're gonna know about probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever, depending on the date, around like my ideology around sex. That's my responsibility as a man to in the relationship with a woman, to say, hey, I want to take you out. This is where we're going. Do you eat seafood? what are your allergic reactions? Whatever. Like if I'm calling you to say let's go on a date, that's my responsibility. To everybody's point, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. It's my responsibility to say, hey, I'm not going to tell you my budget, but I'm going to say, hey, these are the only things that I'm going to do. What are you up for? If I'm not willing to up for it, say, okay, well, I'm not there. You have a nice day, however you want to communicate it. But I think if I'm calling a woman on a date, me personally, I'm courting. So in that courting, I'm going to vet. In that vetting process, when I take you on a date, I'm going to ask several questions that's going to say, you know what?
Help you understand.
I'm either going to call her for a second date, or I'm going to make sure that she going to think about me and make sure she remember me in a good light for her to say, hey, what are you doing? Let's go out. Let's go here. Right. Like that's the type of person I am. That's the only way I can answer the question. But I say at the end of the day, a man should never be confused around what type of person he wants to be.
True. Well, Ms. Day Williams says, if I invite him out to dinner or lunch or coffee, then yeah, I'm expected to pay the bill. And if he reaches for and wants to pay it, I'm going to say thank you. So boom.
It's that simple. It's simple.
It's easy.
It is. I have another question to ask you guys, and this is just for the men. And I talk about this also in the book as well, because like I said, I was very over aggressive. And so to the point of being over aggressive, I had no problem or no shame, I should say, than asking a man out. And you talked about Daryl in the beginning, and we're gonna talk about God. And I talk about this in the book as far as when God made Adam and Eve. And when God made Adam, and then he made Eve, he took them out. We know the story. I'm not gonna go into there. But he presented the woman to the man. And so, men, do you have an issue with women asking you out? Or do you prefer, you spoke about tradition, do you prefer the man to ask the woman out? Because in today's society, a lot of women have no problem asking the men out.
Yeah.
They have no problem. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say of course not. I think, gas, when my grandparents, gas was 15 cents. Like, I would say that the reason why I'm bringing that up is because inflation, the economy continues to grow no matter what type of problems we having as human beings. The economy continues to grow, so that means that everybody has a job and has a schedule. And if you're an accomplished person, you got a schedule, you got a timeline. So therefore, it may not align. So I may be having things to do, and my brain may be on tons of different things for my job or what I do as a profession. And she may be thinking about me. Like, again, I would always say that men, and this is like a real thing, regardless about money, back to the original topic, right? About being a boss and why it's important to be a woman of honey. And especially what my auntie was saying. Men, we have enough testosterone by just sure God's grace, right? For more than y'all. We not looking for somebody that could. We don't want that. We want somebody like the last comment said. We just want somebody to say thank you. We want to feel appreciated. We want that. So to know that a woman says, you know what, hey, how are you doing? Hey, I'm pay, even if you don't have to, right? That's to my sister's point. Even if you don't have to pay the bill, even if a man values money, and he's like, dang, I like that. It's just a gesture of being seen as a man, because it goes back to my original opinion, and it's an opinion because it's not fact. My original opinion around how I think the coping mechanisms of a woman finding herself and a man finding himself is always going to be different, because we have to go through these things on a daily basis. Men, we got to worry about a lot of stuff that's going to be on the forefront. Not saying women don't, but it's different. Men gonna have to worry about stuff on the forefront. We gonna see that up front. We can't hide nowhere. So because of that, we have to go in internally on a daily basis. Not saying women don't, but how we do it, you have to connect to the higher source. So when we connect to that higher source, I'm not trying to sound cliche. I live these things. Y'all on the call know that. When you connect to the higher source, you are filled. So when you are filled, it's a different type of connection when you're talking to a woman. you're not always looking, you know, we have we want sex and this, that, and the third. That's only a period of time. But when we looking at a woman, to your point, we looking at women of value. We need a value, because to your point, I'm missing something. I need this value. So when I'm going and decide to take a woman out on a date, and she says, hey, I can do this. I'm calling you. I want to pick up. I want to see you. She's putting her value on the table. I'm like, dang, I need to see that. Now, guess who sees that when she decides to go to work? Chase Bank, Wells Fargo.
True. We ain't getting into all of that though. Keep it down. Keep it short. You're going too far. You're getting in it too deep. Let's go.
My fault. But
that's all right.
But what I'm saying
gotta bring it back. We gotta bring it back. We way over time already, but I want to make sure we kind of bring this thing back. You know, there's a couple of comments I want to make sure we address.
No.
This is how it was the last time. This is such a hot topic, but we are not going to be able to vet it all out tonight. I do see this coming from Jason, and I wanted to read that out. So Jason says that a woman knows before she agreed to go on a date if she wants to give up the honey or not. Bringing traditional ways of dating into an untraditional maybe society is like bringing a horse and a buggy to an IndyCar race. We have to adapt to change, or perish. So, you know, there's a lot of different perspectives out here, guys. I mean, there's a lot of them. You know, Max says you can take a woman out without spending a dime. It's not about money. It's about honesty, and time is much more valuable than money.
The experience,
I mean,
Max.
There's a lot of different points here. You know, but again, there's just a lot to this whole entire topic. And I think to kind of round it out, go ahead. Oh, you were going to say something?
I just was going to answer the question like this.
Yes, thank you.
To the ladies that are aggressive enough to let the fellas know that they are interested, we appreciate you.
Yes,
that way we don't have to play games. We don't have to try to figure out if you like me or not. Once I know you like me, hey, I'm all in 100%. Let's go.
And we don't end up in HR.
I like Cardi.
Right.
I need to see you in the office. No, that's what it is. You know, just let us know that you liking us, and we definitely gonna be liking you back.
Right.
That's it.
Ladies, you heard it from
and that to me is my point too, because I feel like there is nothing wrong with that, because a lot of men don't, and especially here, you know, women will say, well, he doesn't talk to me. Nobody ever approaches me. Yeah, because you know, but if you know you like him, then go say hello. It's not going to hurt you. You know, you're not going to die. It'll be fine. You know? So Brenda Garrett Sims says, know your worth and don't sell yourself cheap. You are worth more than a slate of food. So, yeah. So again, I know this has been a really hot topic. It's been a really great discussion. Shantay, I so appreciate you. I don't know, we're probably gonna have to do this again at some point. There's just so much here. There's a lot of content in it. And I really appreciate all the different perspectives, right? Definitely from Christina and Brittany and Daryl for sure, because they're in a, much younger than all of us. And even from us, because we are still experiencing it, right? Like there is a difference in how women are carrying themselves, and then we're not healing. Ms. Day said the same thing. We're going from person to person, relationship to relationship. There's no healing in between. Jeanette said the same thing. So how do you expect to show up in another relationship differently when you haven't even taken the time to heal from whatever it is you were dealing with before, and trying to really understand, who are you today? What woman do you really want? What kind of lady do you want to be? And how are you showing up in the world, right? Who are you connected to? Do you even understand, right? Who you are, what you are? Do you even know what your true value and worth is? Do you pay attention to that? So again, I definitely all the time give my honor and glory to God. I know it. And I if you read the book and you pay attention to the words in the scripture, then you should. We had this conversation last week. I don't know. When I read stuff in the Bible, I've been thinking, I do not want to be on the other side of this, because I want to be more like right. So I have to work every day to be a much better person, and obviously to bring to eat more of that honey so that I can release more of that honey and be a much softer, gentler, sweeter, kinder, and not a pushover. Have enough vinegar sprinkled in there where I need it to be. But certainly I don't have to show up like that hard and I got like that all the time. I just don't. And we do. We do. A lot of us do. And we know we do. And most of it is insecurity. Most of it is, lack of confidence. Most of it is that we have not been treated that way. We have not been treated like, virtuous honey women. We just haven't. So we have succumbed, because we have, to that behavior. We've allowed that to become our norm, and that's our fault. And we have to not do that. And we do have to force these people, these men that are in our lives, if they are treating you this way. No, you have to force them to step it up. This isn't going to be the way. I'm not going to accept that anymore. Right. So you have to say that to yourself. You have to know that. And again, I'm going to drop in the post the link to Shantay's book. So if you guys have not had an opportunity to go get it, please do. And Shantay, I'm going to give you a last word real quick, and then I'm going to go ahead and get us out of here. I know we are way over time. So I'm going to, if you don't mind, you can go ahead and share your information real quick. And then I want to have Onyx say one more thing as well. So go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to say, first of all, to the ladies out there, I want to speak to the ladies for a second. It's okay to be soft and firm, as I like to say. It's soft and savvy, as I like to say. It's okay to be that way. We don't have to be how we used to be. We don't have to be who we think we should be. We can just be who we are called to be. Okay. All right. Hold on. I got the little one here. I got my grandbaby here. Hold on. But also hold on. Sorry, I got. There you go. Sorry, y'all. I got the little. My grandson is here. My daughter's getting him now. But I wanted to just say that we don't have to be the way we usually, been in past decades, or even 5 years ago. We can be free of being that stuff, that hard woman that we have to show up every day in and day out this way. It's okay. And I say that because I want people to have freedom, that their chains to be broken off of you in that way, of that mindset, and it's okay. But I also wanted to say, for me, and I end this real quickly. Sorry for the interruption just then. But the one thing that we did not mention in this broadcast that I do think is worth mentioning even now is the fact that before you can love anybody, you first got to know, you have to receive love. And I talk about that when my relationship with the Lord, and I've been saved since I was a little girl. But when I matured in my walk with the Lord, and I learned the Lord the more, and I learned myself. But before I was able to pour out love, I had to learn how to receive love. And I think somebody did hit on that earlier, but we didn't dive into that aspect, because that's where we get our value and our worth. Yep. And we already have that inside of us. But sometimes we downplay that, but we have value and worth in us. And so before you can love anyone, you first have to learn how to love yourself. And then that's when you help you show up better on your dates, in your marriage, in your household, on your job, in your community, in your city, in your nation. And so I just want to speak to that part. But for you to get the book, you can get it. It's on Amazon. You can go to FreshNewConsulting.com. That is my business. I am a coach as well. I have an e-course with this book as well. So I give you the book. The book is a self-help book. I share my story. I share a piece of my life in this book, post my divorce, and the things I've learned. And I believe it's such value in there. It's a lot of conversation. The book, when you read it, it asks you questions as you're reading it, because it's all about you having self-reflection. You examine yourself, and you showing up to be a better version than yourself. So I would encourage you to get the book. I've had people say to me they had come to Jesus moment reading this book, especially for women, because of the fact that it makes you dig deep in yourself in order to come out on the other side of this other side, if you've been aggressive or if you've been passive in a sense and you don't know how to speak up. So we address that as well. But however, thank you all for.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to give Onyx a word real quick. Hold on. Let me go on and get you highlighted here. Go ahead, Mr. O.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you for allowing me to be here. This feels just like Gentlemen After Dark, Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Hey, I love it. There's so much that we can learn from one another, men, women, youth, old. There's a lot of knowledge out here, you guys. We have to be more willing to share it with each other. Shantay, thank you for writing the book. I'm gonna definitely be one of your purchasers of the book, because it's important to know. We don't know a lot of the things from a male perspective. For those males that were raised by their dads, there's a whole new world. If you just talk to your mom, your sister, your auntie, your grandmother, they're gonna teach you something different about the ladies. Ladies, learn something from your dad, your brother, your uncle. There's a lot of information out here. We just don't take the time to invest in gaining that knowledge. So that's my tip. Learn all that you can learn. Talina, thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Yes. And thank you everybody for showing up. Thank you for everyone that's been on, all the comments. My goodness, they are still coming in. Renee, Elise, Mac, Charlene, thank you for being here. Jason, who has been on fire.
Gentlemen After Dark. I see you, Jason.
Yeah, burned up. We've got, Ms. Day in the house. I mean,
Yes.
Latanya Arthur-Mensa. There was just so many. And if I didn't mention you, it's not because I didn't intend to not mention you. But I do appreciate everyone for being here. I know it went way over time, but this has always been a really hot topic and a great discussion. So again, I appreciate you all. Thank you, and thank you again. So that is going to wrap yet another
This
episode.
needs to go viral and needs to go viral for everybody.
Look, let me see if I could do it right.
Hello.
If you are a subscriber, are you on YouTube as well? Yeah. Subscribe, like, share, comment.
Yes, we are looking to grow this community. So that is, again, yes, I didn't even get to thank you guys for reminding me. I just got all off. But thank you so much for everyone being here. Again, that's going to wrap another season, episode 8, of Fearless Fridays, season 2, where we do discuss strategies, tools, and tips to transform your fear into fuel to unlock your true potential. So from that standpoint, hey guys, thank you again. I will see you all next Friday.
See you guys.
Bye. Oh, Jesus.
It says live.
I love my son so much. He be going though. You gotta break that wind down. My baby be talking.
It's still live.
Daryl is deep, and he went there, and I didn't mind it.
Still live.
He was still live.
He's still live, Mom.
Is it? It says end.
It's kind
Lord.
of
Hi guys. Hi. I don't know why it's still on.
We're still here. Hit